The tension hung in the air as Tina stared at the door. The sound of the doorbell echoed through the apartment, pulling everyone's attention toward it. Ma Becky's words, so carefully chosen, were left suspended in midair as Tina hesitated. She slowly reached for the door handle, her heart racing, already dreading the possibility of another surprise. She pulled the door open, her breath catching in her throat. Standing there was her younger sister, Melissa. With a bright smile, she waved cheerfully at Tina. "Surprise," she exclaimed, completely unaware of the thick tension lingering inside the apartment. Tina sighed in relief and quickly embraced her. "Melissa, I didn't expect you today. What a surprise." Melissa giggled, stepping inside the apartment, her eyes darting around.
"I just had to see you, Tina. It's been too long."
As soon as Ma Becky saw her younger daughter-in-law's excitement, her lips tightened into a thin line. She eyed Melissa up and down, her expression hard to read, but clearly disapproving. Papa offered a small, polite smile, sensing that the situation could escalate at any moment. Just then Tina and everyone at the hall could hear Mike's car pull up at the garage outside, back from his business trip just in time because his parents were around and didn't want to leave Tina alone. He greeted everyone as he entered the hall and was also surprised to see Melissa. He welcomed her though. And sat down. Tina pulled Melissa into the living room, where the tension still weighed heavy. Mike tried to catch his wife's eye, silently pleading for peace. But it was Ma Becky who broke the silence.
"So, Melissa, I hear that you've come all the way to the city without even telling your elders. I hope you didn't come just to lounge around while your sister works."
"No, Mama. I wanted to surprise Tina, but I'm planning to be helpful while I'm here. I won't be a burden."
Tina, sensing where the conversation was going, quickly changed the subject. "Melissa, please, come and sit. Let me get you something to eat." As she moved toward the kitchen, Ma Becky waved her hand, dismissing her daughter-in-law's hospitality.
No, there's no need for that," she said. "We were just in the middle of an important conversation. I was just about to tell Tina about Kate, back in the village."
Tina's breath hitched at the mention of Kate, Mike's sister. She had heard enough about Kate from Ma Becky's many phone calls. It was always something: Kate's marriage, Kate's behavior, Kate's so-called bad influence. And now, here it was again, entering their peaceful home uninvited.
"Yes, Kate has been causing some issues back in the village. You see, she's been acting out, showing no respect to her elders. Just last week, she was seen arguing with her husband in the market. Can you imagine disrespecting her husband in front of the whole village? Such disgrace."
Mama, maybe we should leave the village matters for another time.
But Ma Becky was unstoppable. She continued, her voice growing more intense with each word.
"I brought this up for a reason, Tina. You're a city woman now, and I know you don't want to turn into another Kate. Women in the city seem to forget their duties and lose their respect. You need to be careful, very careful."
Tina's eyes flickered toward Mike, who sat helplessly at the dining table. His frustration was palpable, but he remained silent, unsure of how to address the ever-growing tension. The room fell into an uncomfortable silence, broken only by the clinking of cutlery as Papa awkwardly poked at his food. Sensing the weight of the situation, Melissa decided to intervene. With a bright smile, she looked at Ma Becky and said,
"Mama, you always know what's going on in the village. But I think Tina has been doing an amazing job here in the city. The apartment is lovely, the food smells delicious, and Mike looks happier than ever."
Her words, though meant to lighten the mood, only served to deepen the tension. Ma Becky's gaze shifted slowly toward Melissa, her lips pressed into a thin line.
"Melissa, you may be Tina's sister, but you should be careful not to meddle in a married woman's affairs. I'm speaking to Tina, and she knows what I mean."
Mike, sensing the rising storm, finally spoke up.
"Mama, please. Tina is doing her best, and we are fine. Let's just enjoy this time together as a family."
Ma Becky shook her head, clearly unimpressed. Mike's jaw tightened as his mother's words hung in the air. He had always respected her opinions, but the constant jabs at Tina were becoming unbearable. His love for his wife was strong, yet the pressure to balance his family's expectations and his mother's constant scrutiny weighed heavily on him. As he sat there, watching his mother cast judgment on the woman he had chosen to spend his life with, he felt torn. His mind raced with 100 thoughts. Should he confront his mother or protect Tina? But he knew that any confrontation would only make things worse. Instead, he stood up abruptly, causing everyone to turn toward him.
I think we all need a break. It's been a long day, and we're all tired.
Tina glanced at her husband, grateful for the temporary escape, though she knew this battle was far from over. Later that evening, after everyone had retreated to their rooms, Tina sat alone on the living room sofa, her thoughts swirling with everything that had been said. Suddenly, Mike appeared, his face soft with concern. He sat next to her, placing a comforting hand on her shoulder.
I'm sorry, Tina, I didn't expect today to be like this.
I knew your mother would have her opinions, but it's hard. She's always comparing me to Kate, or the village, and I feel like I'm constantly failing in her eyes. Just set in her ways. She doesn't understand the life we're building here in the city. Tina's eyes welled up with tears, but she quickly wiped them away. I just want her to see me, to respect me as your wife, as part of this family. Mike pulled her closer.
She will, Tina. But it will take time. You and we're in this together.
Just as the two of them were finally finding some peace, there was a loud knock on the door. Tina and Mike exchanged confused glances. It was too late for any expected visitors. Mike rose to answer the door, his curiosity piqued. He opened it to find a man standing there, dressed in simple clothes, but with an air of urgency about him. I'm sorry to disturb you this late, the man said, his voice quiet but tense.
But I need to speak to Ma Becky. It's about Becky. Something urgent has happened in the village.
Tina and Mike exchanged a look of shock and concern. Ma Becky, who had overheard the conversation from her bedroom, rushed to the door, her face pale. What happened? She demanded, her voice trembling. The man hesitated, glancing at Tina and Mike, before lowering his voice.
It's best if we discuss this privately, ma'am.
Ma Becky nodded and stepped outside, leaving Tina and Mike standing in the doorway, their minds racing with questions. Ma Becky then turned to give Mike and Tina a wide-open-eyed gaze. This kept Mike and Tina in a nervous state, wondering what could be that bad news from the village at this time of the night. Tina couldn't help but look at Mike nervously. The drama is just beginning. Want to know what happened and what news the young man might have brought from the village at that ungodly hour? Wait for it, as the story unfolds. Do you think Ma Becky has a hidden agenda, or just protecting her son?